Welcome into Missing the Point in what has been another wild week in the National Football League. And I predict probably another wild week coming up. I am here to talk about it with a real BK Bob Kelly. I am DK Sizzle, and we are your wise and wonderful hosts for the next 60 odd minutes, depending on how off the rails this show goes.
They will be odd minutes. Yeah.
So, I saw a fun little interview with Travis Kelce this week, Bobby. And he was asked to name his tight end Mount Rushmore. So 4. I was like, is that 4? I can't remember. But 4 tight ends, just to break the ice on the show. I'd like you to tell me he's also my fantasy tight end, and he is amazing to have as a fantasy tight end. So I'd like you to tell me your tight end Mount Rushmore all time.
Career wise?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd say Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah, he was on Kelce's.
Gronk.
He was on Kelce's also.
Do you put him? Did he put himself? I think Kelce might be on. I think I put Kelce on there too.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you want to, can you throw it back old school? I'm trying to think of like an old.
He put that guy from the Chargers, not Antonio Gates.
Kellen Winslow.
No, yeah, it might have been Kellen. Yeah, senior.
Senior, right? Yeah.
Okay. He put Kellen Winslow senior on there.
I get that because of he had a bigger impact. Like
he was like the first
time
guy.
The game as well. Right. Exactly. I can't really think of anyone. If you're going, I think Antonio Gates is in the running too.
Yeah.
But that's the only other guy I can really think that belongs on the Rushmore. You know what I mean? Because if you're talking Rushmore of tight ends, you're not just talking receiving. You're talking the entire aspect of being a tight end. So totally. Jimmy Graham was great for like that 7-8 year stretch, but I mean, he's pretty much a wide receiver when he was, in that talent level. So I think, do you have any differences?
I think mine, and it's not really fair because I sprung this question on you and I was kind of pondering it while I was playing with my dog today after I saw that TikTok video, which you can tell how fucking busy my day's been, but just like thinking about tight ends in my backyard. But my 4 would probably be Gronk, obviously, Tony Gonzalez, definitely, because for years as a kid, I feel like he was the
guy. He was the guy.
Yeah. Like for years and years and years, like the longevity of like him being a 99 in Madden was outstanding. Do you just thought of somebody?
Yeah. Mr. Sharp, right? Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, you can count that. I think, again, I mean, it's kind of difficult because when you go to different eras, I think that they were asked to do different things. So, I mean, it's also true of my third pick, who would be Mike Ditka, who's definitely making my list. I mean, Hall of Fame as a player, Hall of Fame as a coach.
Yeah.
You got to love that. And it's just like, I got to stay it. He's got to
bring it home, bro.
Put Ditka up there,
I get it.
And plus, I mean, I know the stonework on the mountain itself is going to be tough with the mustache, but like, he's got to get up there.
It's going to look good. Yeah.
And I probably,
those put old Ditka's up on Rushmore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how people recognize him, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's an elder statesman. Although he kind of looked the same as the tight end. If you ever see pictures of him, he's a 40-year-old man.
Just added a couple wrinkles under the eyes.
That's that era. It's that era. Like everybody looked 40 at 20 in the 1960s. I don't know, like the Mad Men era, right? So yeah, those names all came to mind. I feel like I have to put Antonio Gates instead of Kelce because Kelce's not done yet, and I feel like Antonio Gates again was just like so good for so long. I feel like if he was on a team like Kelce's on, like he would be dripping with rings. So it's, he was always put in thereabouts, slapped back by like the best Patriots teams, it's like the guys who didn't win rings in the NBA when Michael Jordan was playing. It's like, it's tough, so I got to put him up there. Ditka, Gronk, obviously. And I'll probably, and then Tony Gonzalez, and that'll round it out for me. But all the same.
And yours, Kelce's is like in construction. Possibly over on the side, like
Obama,
right?
For the real Mount Rushmore. Dave just alienates half the listener base. I don't care. I don't give a shit. I'm just fucking around, guys. It's not just fucking with half the listeners. That's all. All right.
Yeah, listen, with our track record, though, all of a sudden Obama is going to be like, breaking news, Barack Obama added to Mount fucking Rushmore. Like, what the fuck, man?
The predictions on this show, if you guys are listening, we've done pretty good. We willed Blake Griffin out of the Celtics last week, so here we are. Okay, so what we're going to do every week, longtime listeners of the show, followers of us on social media, know that Bobby does our power rankings, our official power rankings. We haven't worked that way for a few different reasons. He enjoys doing them, and we enjoy giving him shit for when he does them. Even if I don't have a real problem with the power rankings, I try to find a way to argue with him in some way.
Every time. Right. As soon as I post something, I'm like waiting for DK says pop it up.
It's kind of the whole point of power rankings, right? Like that's you're there for the debate, and it's all nuance, which is great, and it also gives us a structure to talk about all these teams throughout the show. So, I mean, let's just get right into it, he says after a long preamble at the start of the show. Let's get right into it. Number 10 on the power rankings this week, Bobby, are your Dallas Cowboys. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I have no argument. I'm not against it. I think the way that you described it in the Discord when, the knives sort of came out when the other members of the podcast saw it, that's not the one I was arguing about, as you know. I don't disagree with it. And I think you make a valid point about the sort of hill that they have to climb to be where they are right now, to lose a bunch of their receiving core, which I know you've waxed lyrical on. And I mean, they didn't lose them. They didn't re-sign. They didn't do their due diligence to keep a good receiving core in this offense. And aging, very at this point overpaid RB1, who sees, I think, frankly, too many touches. Maybe we can get into that. And their starting quarterback going down. And to, I think, win a decisive game against maybe not a top 10 team in the Commanders, but to win with purpose and win with skill.
It was never a question.
I think that they looked every inch, a top 10 team when the way that they played. If they played that way against everybody, it'd be they might creep up the rankings even more. So talk to me about the Cowboys and what's looked different to you, and obviously the quarterback situation. We're going to exclude all the Jerry Jones bullshit and that kind of stuff that he's trying to obviously whip up because he likes to be in the press. He likes when the Cowboys are in the press. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. But talk to me about the actual personnel. How are you doing with Coop? Like emotionally, like how's that going? And like, are you still mad Tony Pollard doesn't touch the ball more? Talk to me.
I'm always going to be mad Tony Pollard doesn't touch the ball more. It's literally my number one gripe with the Dallas Cowboys. Tony Pollard does. Let me start positive before I go into Tony Pollard. Cooper Rush, man. I can't say enough about this guy. He's been absolute nails. When you watch him play quarterback, right? I had such low expectations for this guy. I shouldn't have, because he's kind of been the same exact guy we saw last year in Minnesota over these 3 games, but he's better, bro, than half the goddamn starting quarterbacks in the NFL. And you watch it every Sunday, and it's like he makes throws and makes the decisions that he needs to make. He doesn't try to force things. He doesn't try and, go crazy and do these things. He knows what kind of defense he has on the other side of the field. So he knows he just doesn't, he has to run like a Trent Dilfer offense. You know what I mean? Don't make mistakes. 17 of 25, 210 yards is perfect from Cooper Rush. But I just see it as like, listen, I'm just as shocked as anyone that the Dallas Cowboys are in my power rankings at the 10 spot right now. Like I've been looking for every reason for this season to be over since Dak Prescott went down, and his defense just keeps saying, no, listen, we lead the league in sacks. I think we're like top 5 in interceptions now. We haven't let up over 20 points in any game. Even the game we lost to Tampa Bay, it was still 19-3, and the defense still looked really good in that game too. So
yeah, really good in the red zone in that sort of bend no break style. Good, still ball hawks like we talked about last year. A lot of studs peppered around that backfield, and I feel like fun to watch. Like it similar, not quite as dynamic and taking the ball away as last season, but a little bit more controlled, which might actually work out better for you.
Yeah, and it's looking like Diggs is looking for the opportunities now, but also looking to make the right play most of the time.
Being a little bit responsible.
Right, exactly. Which was always the knock on him was, he gambles too much. He does this and that. This year, bro, you saw that game-ending play in the corner of the end zone. Instead of going up for that pick, he just swatted that shit away.
Yeah, just win the game, dude.
Right, so, if we're going to keep doing that, and listen, Dan Quinn has this front seven playing maybe the best front seven in football right now. We have
49ers. The 49ers.
Oh, they're really good.
But yeah, no, totally. I mean, they're in the conversation.
But I just see this team like, if this defense shows up, we can beat anyone on any given day. Period. And I said that last year too. So listen, I'm not trying to get my hopes too high for this team right now. I still have my expectations are still reserved. We'll see what we look like in a few months, but right now, with the parity across the NFL with what's happening, it just feels right that they belong in the top 10. You know.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I feel like we may have thought that things might have settled by now, but I don't think we know anything more than we did in week 2. I think that Cooper Rush has this sort of advantage of being an unknown quantity. You know, I think the guy that has was 2017 he came into the league, right?
Yeah,
like
17 or 18.
There's no narrative on him yet, you know, and he can still kind of come in, I think, and establish himself as a guy that saved the Dallas Cowboys season. Like maybe he has a little bit of a Matt Castle year, you know, and you bank high on him in the offseason and stick with Dak, or maybe he becomes your starting QB. I don't know. But he's on like a $2 million contract. So at the end of the day, like if he puts in a good performance and Dak comes back, then you can trade him for some stuff. So it's the only way is up as far as a good performing quarterback is in the league. I think honestly the commodity that is the quarterback, I think was sort of undervalued for a while. Then it was properly valued, and now it's completely a little bit maybe overvalued, where it's like every single thing that people watch on the football field comes down to the quarterback. At the end of the day, I think that they've made some adjustments in that offense that I think they would have made regardless of if Dak was in there or not. And I think that it served you pretty well. I think that you've asked a little bit less of the sort of lower down the totem pole wide receivers that are just maybe just doing their job on underneath passes and stuff. And maybe Cooper Rush being in there is the reason why that is. I mean, you know, you're not asking him to do a ton, but then you have him. That's the strategy, right? You know, you have him kind of do his job until he you know, and then you give him an opportunity to make a play once in a while.
Yeah,
and I think
this guy Noah Brown is looking pretty good too.
Yeah, and you know, there's a couple of dudes coming out of nowhere that none of us have heard of, which is always nice. It's that thing that happens in Pittsburgh every year where you're like, oh, cool, you have like the best receiver no one's heard of.
Sir. But I do want to talk about Pollard because I still get annoyed by this, man. Listen, I get it that Zeke is, you know, he's a commodity. He's a star in this league. You know, he's a face of the Cowboys. I get it. But I say this to you guys every time Zeke touches the ball or he gets a touchdown. Like, thank God we have the highest paid fullback in the NFL. You know, what would we do without that highest paid bro?
Yeah.
Tony Pollard is so much more electric, and he's just a better running back at this point in his career. Like, you just see, like, Cowboys offense moves so much better when Tony Pollard is the focal point of that offense. And if they can make him get 15 to 20 touches a game, I just think the sky is the limit for him and for this offense, because you see it, man. You see them grind to a halt where it's like Pollard for 8, Pollard for 9, Zeke comes back in, Zeke for 2, Zeke for 3. All of a sudden it's 3rd and 6 and we have to punt again. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
I mean, he sort of reads to me like a previous generation running back. Like he doesn't look like the kind of running back, even in his prime. I mean, he'd probably still be running pretty well, but you know, unless you're Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley, you kind of don't have these guys that run like the traditional running back anymore. I think that the guys that are proving effective across the league are a little smaller, a little more agile, a little bit more side to side speed, and better hands. And I think that we talked a couple of years ago, and a couple of years now, honestly, about Zeke trying to adjust his game to become at least a threat. And I've been saying this to you for years, at least a threat as a receiver. You know, I feel like if I'm a linebacker and I see Zeke, I don't know how often this happens, you tell me, but if I see Zeke pop off and like stand on the line to even threaten to be a receiver, I'm not looking at him, because neither is the quarterback. You know what I mean? And like, I just think that even to just throw him a couple of screen passes at the start of the game so that they actually have to think about that. Like, because, you know, I mean, with a head of steam, he can still run, you know, and he can still do that, you know, magical stuff that he was known for, and what got him the big contract. Not quite at the same level, but it just seems like they don't really want to ask him to do anything but the stuff that they ask him to do, because they have Pollard. And that, I think, makes you want to see Pollard on the field a little bit more, because like you said, he's just more dynamic. And I mean, I agree with you. I'd like to see him get way more touches, because that's what I would do. I'd be going to him every single time. But you're weighed down by that hefty contract and you're trying to get your money's worth. It's like when you go to an all-inclusive in Mexico, you drink too much every day because you already paid for
bought
the
drink package, bro. You're spinning, but you're like, I need that shot. Listen, I paid for that shot. It's key.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
you just got to try to keep it cool and hope they don't cut you off. But I think that's sort of the Zeke situation right now. But no, I mean, look, it's great to have a great defense. I used to, so it's nice. But no, I mean, I
like a torn X because I used to have one of those.
I fucking did. It was nice. But no, I mean, look, here we are. Dallas Cowboys better than people thought they might have been. Apparently Mike said that they were going to be good. I didn't hear that.
He was just trying to be an asshole. That's all that was. He saw me at my lowest and was like, hey, don't. I know it sounds like he's trying to be nice, trying to like pick me up, but that's not what he was trying to do at all. Everyone who ever listens to this show
shocking
knows exactly what he was trying to do. But
shocking. All right, well, best of luck. Who do you guys have this coming week?
Our next team. It's a good segue.
You're playing the Rams.
Yeah,
oh,
wow. The Rams
okay, cool. So yeah, that is a good segue. So let's talk about what the fuck is going on in Los Angeles. I feel that I was sort of proven wrong pretty aggressively with my take on Matt Stafford last season, because I said that if you just pressure him and you don't let him get into a rhythm, he will lose his team the game anytime that you play him correctly as a defense. And then he won a fucking Super Bowl, like right in my face, just wet it right in my fucking face. So not a ton to really argue with there. However, I do feel like some people actually watched a little game tape from the Lions days, and they're starting to bring pressure on him. And when they bring pressure on Matt Stafford, he makes mistakes. And when he's forced into game like leveling or winning situations, I've noticed he makes mistakes. Now, this is just from watching him play for the Detroit Lions and play my team twice a year over the course of the last decade. And that's just what I always notice. Now, maybe he comes down into LA, they scheme for him a little bit better, they protect him a little bit better, they put better weapons around him, and he looks like a wholly new quarterback, which is definitely what happened. It's undeniable. I'm not denying that. He's a champion now. I'm not taking that away from him. But if you point to the San Francisco game, they're bringing pressure on this guy and they get him out of rhythm early and they rattle him up early. And look what happens. He looks decidedly mediocre when you do that. Decidedly mediocre when you do that. And I'm not saying bad. I'm not saying he's Rex Grossman. I'm not saying he's Jim Miller. I can name a few more terrible Bears quarterbacks if you want, but I'm not saying I'm not saying he's Brian Hoyer. I'm saying he's decidedly average when you rattle him up a little bit. He can piece you up if you let him get into a short yardage rhythm and then make plays on you downfield. That's the kind of quarterback that he is. But if you disrupt his rhythm successfully early, I don't know if he's exactly the MVP everybody was talking about. And Cooper Kupp won the fucking Super Bowl MVP anyway. And he throws the ball to him every single fucking time.
Every time, bro.
Ridiculous. It's honestly fucking absurd. Like, spread it out, man. So you got the Cowboys coming. Where is it in Dallas?
It's in LA. But
okay, so you get the Cowboys.
It's Cowboys home field anyways. It's
gotcha. Sure. Yeah, LA fans are terrible sports fans is what Bobby's saying. Don't alienate an entire fucking listening region or anything. But I think you guys are fucking class acts. But Chargers fans. So the Dallas coming into LA. I feel like they're vulnerable right now. You got two ways you can look at this. They're vulnerable and they need a win to save their season. And, that's a wounded dog is a scary proposition for anybody. Or there's holes in the tape and you can see it. And that Cowboys front seven is exactly the kind of defense to exploit it. Which side are you taking? I mean, I know you pretty well at this point. I think you're probably taking the optimistic bend.
Yeah, no, I'm going to go with that. The Cowboys front seven is going to be all over Stafford. I mean,
that's the way to do it.
The way to beat the Cowboys is to have a good run game and not let them sell out on that pass rush and make them have to cover the run, because that's not what they're good at. That's why the top 49ers, which I'm gonna get to the 49ers in a second. But that's why the 49ers is such a tough matchup for the Cowboys, because they have that running offense and
they were my first honorable mention, by the way.
Yeah, so I was actually gonna say we don't do this on the show much, but I am very willing to take the Rams out of this power rankings and replace them with 49ers.
Oh my God. Yeah, I want that.
Right? Because
I want that in my life right now. Live power rankings?
Yeah, no, it's happening, man. Because I was just sitting here thinking, and I was like, so the Niners are definitely my top honorable mention. I'm with you 100%. I didn't put him in here because of my Jimmy G hate and just despite Joe, but Joe's not on the show. So, so I'm going to be realistic now.
Sorry, Joe.
I just think, after the way they just shellacked them, I don't think it's right for me to have the Rams on here, even if they're the Super Bowl champs, have them on here over the 49ers, right?
I really enjoyed watching that game, honestly, because I think it was a really elite defensive performance, and I have the 49ers defense in our fantasy league, and I needed them to perform for me to win, and needing a defense to perform for those, it was really nice. But having a defense needing to get you the points needed to win a game is really stressful for our fantasy football players out there, because they're the only ones that are going to probably end up with less points than they start with, as everybody knows. So to watch them come out and like sack over and over again, Matt Stafford, to end the game with a pick six, just to seal the deal, to realize, and we talked about this, Bobby, me and you, to realize that the first few blitzes that they didn't actually need to blitz, like they were going to get enough pressure by just, they have great numbers on that. I think they have the highest pressure percentage without blitzing anyone but their front four of anyone in the league. So they bring pressure. I mean, honestly, much like the Rams of last season, you know what I mean? Like that D-line was exactly that. So I think it was a fun game to watch in that sense. And I think that they are super elite. I think that Jimmy G was every inch Jimmy G. I think he makes great underneath passes. I think he's great over 15 yards. I think he makes really good reads over 15 yards. I think he plays linebackers really well. I think if you ask him to throw a deep ball and someone has a gun to your head, I think you should call your mom and tell her that you're not coming be home, because that guy's deep ball is inaccurate. He's got a piss poor back shoulder pass, which every quarterback basically has at this point now. I think when he has open guys over 15 yards, he makes the catches really difficult on them. And I think I just think he's got a crappy deep ball, and I think that's what keeps him out of the elite, as well as obviously his injury record, which that's been talked to death. So in the one sense, I think, yes, I would see the 49ers over the Rams in this power rankings based on that game. But in another sense, is it a little reactionary? Because like you said, they match up really well against the Rams. Mm-hmm. And like, what do the 49ers look like for the rest of the season? What do the Rams look like for the rest of the season? Because Stafford could just like look in Allen Robinson's direction one time, and like, maybe that might change things on the offense. Maybe their running backs might actually be able to make more than a yard per carry as it comes up. They have a bit of a weird Super Bowl winner hangover, but if you want to do it, I'm in full vocal support of you. But I just think it's like it could go either way here.
Yeah, So the reason I didn't do it was because of the overall work that we've seen from both teams so far. Like, yes, the 49ers look much more dominant than the Rams did in that game. And if they play at that pace, I think they can be a better team than them. However, the game they won they lost to the Broncos was an absolute pitiful performance of football. The defense was great, but Jimmy G was atrocious. The offense was atrocious. So like, we just seen the basement for the 49ers. And is the basement I just feel like the basement for the 49ers is so much lower. You know what I mean?
Because the Bears played them game one, and we've been fucking horrible to watch for the rest of the season. We beat them. So
I mean, what do you think? I think we're going to stick with the Rams for now. Just for now.
To be totally honest, I'll make one point that maybe might sway you to put the 49ers in there. That defensive performance wasn't by a bunch of guys that you've never heard of putting a game plan together and being well drilled. Like, there's studs, like you like to say, like you're wont to say, there's studs all over the field for the 49ers. On paper coming into the season, despite that Bears game and despite that Broncos game, on paper coming into the season, that defense was supposed to be the best in the league. It just was. So you could have made an argument for them. You could have made an argument for Tampa Bay. You could have made an argument for the Chargers. You could have made an argument for Dallas. To me, it was the 49ers. And I think they looked like themselves. Not look like a different team, look like, a team that was just having a good night. To me, they look like how they were supposed to look coming into this season. So if they've put that together, it's a pretty scary proposition, and they might just get into the power rankings anyway. So we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah. I think we're going to come back to it.
All right. We'll revisit it next week, but on deck are the 49ers hovering right around the 10 spot to try and muscle their way in here. The Ravens are number 8. Interesting, because I find them incredibly flawed. I think that much like their quarterback, I think that they're sort of representative of their quarterback and leader in the sense that when they're good, they are very, very good, but when they are bad, they are horrid. So talk to me about the Baltimore Ravens. What do you see from them moving forward? I forget where you stand on the Lamar thing. Are you pro Lamar or
I'm pro? This version of Lamar, I'm very pro Lamar. Listen, I understand that there's definitely drawbacks to Lamar's game, but at the same time, Lamar hasn't shown that much this year. I feel like a lot of this is more on the defense and the coaching staff. I think Lamar's done everything that you could ask of him, man. Listen, he led.
I mean, in that comeback, in that Dolphins game, and we discussed this. I don't think if you look at his stat line and what he went out and did that day, you can't turn around and blame him.
You cannot.
For the defense just capitulating horribly and them not being it. I mean, it's like he went out there and like threw like 3 fucking dots to the Casa, fucking, ran for 1,000,000 yards, made plays, scored like 35 points, and his defense couldn't fucking hold the other team to under 35. It's fucking pathetic. Like I agree with you. It's not his fault. And I get that, but they are a flawed team, no?
100%. And I honestly, I think I'm alone on this island, bro. I don't know if Harbaugh's a good coach anymore. I get that he's just, he does the analytics and he's all about that. How many games have the Ravens lost over the past 2 years because he doesn't trot out the best kicker in football to win or tie a game? Bro, it still blows my mind. Like, they had that game against Buffalo. They at least had a chance at a 3-point lead and making Buffalo drive down the field and not be able to ice the game the way they did. Yeah. And they go for it, and Lamar throws the pick, and now all of a sudden Lamar. No, Lamar never should have been put in that position. You have to kick that field goal. And that just seems like a trend with me for them. If they can get out of their own way, I just see them as one of the more impressive teams that you've seen when they're playing at their best so far this year. They've had 2 games.
They got a lot of talent, and they got a lot of talent.
2 games, a 17-point lead, and they've only been trailing so far this season for like a total of 2 minutes of game time, and they're 2-2
minutes. It's the wrong.
Agree, 100% the wrong 2 minutes. But it's just if Harbaugh kicks that field goal, right?
Yeah.
And the Bills can't run that clock out, and they have to go all the way down and score a touchdown. It's very possible they still do that, right? Very, very, very possible.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't happen, then we're talking about this Ravens team is such a different light right now. And
we're talking about this Buffalo team is such a different light,
and the Buffalo team too. Yeah, 100%. But I just think if Harbaugh can just get out of the way, man, I just don't think he's that good anymore. I don't know what happened to him. He used to be a great coach, but I just feel like he's lost them so many games over the past 2 years. It just it kind of boggles
sometimes the game. I feel like the NFL is a product. I mean, not to get too meta here, but the NFL, I think, and I watch, as you know, I mean, I'm someone who does a sports podcast, but I watch a lot of different sports. I watch some sports you guys don't watch. I feel I have a good view on the products that these different sports are delivering. And I really do think, despite the fact that they don't mind if players' brains melt in their heads, and there's a little bit of a questionable moral compass at the top of this organization.
No,
it is far and away the best product that we're given. The way it's delivered, the level of athletes that are playing it, the innovation in the game that happens from week to week and season to season, the top end talent, the Patrick Mahomeses of the world, guys we've never seen at this level, operating at this level. This product that we're given is so incredibly fun to digest, but it's also ever changing. It's ever evolving because of where, what it is. And I feel like this season in particular, I think my theory, I'm trying to theorize, is why are the teams we think that should win are winning? Why are the teams that should be losing not losing? Why is it such a weird season so far? And I do agree with Mike that it's going to sort of even out, but I think it's because every few years you have this sort of weird, not philosophical, but sort of stylistic transition in the NFL where different things start to matter based on small rule changes, the kind of talent that you're game planning for. And this feels like that kind of year. And it might be the kind of thing that happens where it's just, this is the year it passes a guy like Harbaugh by. This is the year where it's just moving a little bit differently for him, and he's not making the right reads. And the margins at the top, the margins at the top of anything are incredibly small. So if you lose a step, even as a coach, sort of mentally, and your instincts aren't quite doing what they're supposed to be doing for you, it can snowball quickly. It can snowball really, really quickly. And as a fan, you and I can sit here and look and say, like, come on, man, this is super obvious. Like, keep up. But from his perspective, he's looking at the game from the inside of this team. He's trying to game plan for his team. He's trying to play to his team's strengths, and it's not working out for him. And now maybe he's just trying to overcorrect a little bit. Maybe he needs to take his hand out of the pie a little bit. I mean, I still believe he's a good coach. But to try to answer your theory as to what the fuck is going on over there in the front office, if it wasn't Harbaugh, if it was anybody else or almost anybody else, we'd be like, that guy sucks, and we would just move on.
That's
right?
what I mean, bro. That's what the decisions that to quote Herman Edwards, you play to win the game.
But he's a great example of like someone that happened to. You know what I mean? It's like
100%. That is a good
you bring up a perfect prime example. Like there's guys that, are smart enough to say, like, I don't really, I mean, we've talked about Bill Belichick so much on the Discord. I'm not prepared to come on this podcast and say that Bill Belichick isn't like still the best coach in the NFL. I think our more patriot-minded brothers in arms for this podcast are hurting at the moment, and I think that they see that the era is over, and I think that they need someone to blame a little. I'd still be riding with the dude. I'd be like, lose every fucking game from here until the day I die. I don't give a shit. You gave me everything. I'm good. But that's just me. I mean, it's also speculative because I haven't come close to that success in my NFL watching career. But
never will.
I mean, I like to remain optimistic. I might see 6 titles in my time. Who knows? I mean, maybe once we get those Transformers from the Fox commercials playing, maybe the Bears will be first on the market.
That's true, bro.
But at least concussion protocol won't be an issue, but the rise of the machines might be. So I think that
so they still have those. They do, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
a staple for sure. I watch so much Red Zone now, though. I don't really watch
me either. Me too, man. Yeah.
To just put on Red Zone, I have like the Bears game dedicated on one TV, and then I just have Red Zone, and it's just like I got a fucking fat tire and a bag of Schneider's pretzel pieces in Red Zone, and I'm like, me and everybody in America are just happy as a fucking pig and shit. So, yeah, I mean, the Ravens are a weird team. I still find them fun to watch. I still find Lamar dynamic. I still think that they can get it figured out. Funny enough, they're playing the Bengals next week, who are also in a weird situation. Like, are they good? Are they not good? They seem flawed. There's a Super Bowl hangover. They didn't do enough to improve their offensive line and help out their, all-star quarterback. And, I think that you basically make the best point possible about the Ravens. Everybody's very quick to say Lamar, and this actually isn't his fault.
It's not.
And I think that's it. It sucks for him that he kind of is having his like silence the doubters season, and everything around him is crumbling.
I saw a stat that's like so top fantasy football performer so far this year. Number 1 is Lamar Jackson with
no
his
doubt about
passing, rushing, everything like that.
Yeah.
Then it's like 2, 3, 4. Number 5 is Lamar Jackson without his rushing stats. So it's
come on,
bro. It's unreal what he's doing.
Come on, give the man his reward for putting in a great season. This is not his fault. This is, and Ray and I had a small disagreement about it on the Discord. He was like, dude, everyone's gonna give him shit for this loss or whatever when we were talking about the Dolphins game. I'm like, maybe, but that's not correct.
Yeah,
like,
it's not true.
They can give him shit, but like, I don't think they could bring the fucking receipts.
We're not them. We're not them. Like,
no, we're not. I mean, look, I've criticized him in the past, and I've seen holes in his game and flaws in his game, and I still don't think he's perfect. But I'm not blaming the fucking Ravens season on him. No way. Like, it's crazy. He goes out and does his job every week. Like, I can't do it. What do you want him to do? You want him to take his time with the scoring drives? Hold on to the ball a little bit more, Lamar.
Don't rush for 60-yard scores. All right, we don't want.
We can't let the defense get on the fucking field, dude, because they're just gonna blow the fucking lead anyway. So just hold on to the ball for a little bit, run around in circles, Tecmo Bowl style. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, moving on.
Make Devin Duvernay look way better. Okay, come on.
Yeah, right? Seriously,
Devin Duvernay is leading the league in touchdowns right now. What the hell do you want?
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome. I love the offensive weapons he has. I really like his tight end. I think Bateman has been a little unlucky with some drops. I think that he's going to come good. I think they have a lot of good weapons over there, and I think that the offense is only going to go from strength to strength. But the defense needs to. In Baltimore, of all fucking places, I'm about to say this. Defense needs to get his fucking head screwed on. The fucking era, the 06 Madden era that we grew up in, my friend, is just it's not the same anymore. Brian Urlacher and Ed Reed and fucking all those type of guys are just not in the league anymore. All those dudes play for different teams.
It's so fun. Like, not, but we move on after that, but it's so funny that like they still have that aura about them. Like, I just look at the Ravens and I assume good defense, and it's just not the case anymore.
No, it's really not. Which is unfortunate. And honestly, Harbaugh too. I feel like he's a defensively minded coach. I feel like he should have the brain to put that defense a little bit together a little bit better. But here we are. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure we'll discuss the Baltimore Ravens again as the season goes on. So welcome everyone to the little knitting circle we're about to have, the little gossip corner when we move on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and fucking sad Ben Affleck, the guy that is their fucking quarterback. I don't mean to laugh at the man's marital troubles. And quite frankly, I am a big proponent and advocate of just not crossing the streams when it comes to somebody's personal life and their play on the field. But I feel like maybe you should have just hung out with the supermodel life and not come back this season, because I don't think he's winning a Super Bowl. And I mean, I far be it from me to doubt the man, Tom Brady. We're talking about, by the way, if you guys have been living under a
I think they got it. I think they got it.
But yeah, it seems like the rumors are swirling that he's getting a divorce from his wife, and it seems like maybe the last straw was coming back to Tampa, ripping those shirt sleeves off, drinking fucking Miller Lights by the Gator Pool, and fucking playing for the Bucs again. And they don't seem to quite have that it factor this season. I know they're ahead of some teams on this power rankings, and I think it does make sense to have a Tom Brady team still, at least in 7th. But their red zone offense is not great. Godwin's on one leg. Brady's still pretty elite. But maybe has he lost a step? I don't know. You tell me. What do you think of this? What do you think of this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team this year? I mean, their defense is still stingy as hell.
Yeah, that game was weird. I don't want to put too much. I don't want to overreact too much to that game and their defense because of the hurricane and everything like that. Guys were displaced. I don't know how much you can make that as an excuse and how much you can say that's why. I guess that's still an excuse I'm fucking talking about.
I just feel like I can't bring to memory many times where I watched Tom Brady get like styled on in prime time. Like he was under a lot of pressure. He wasn't the best guy on the field. Patrick Mahomes put on a fucking absolute tour de force performance. Like, he looked like he was playing NFL Street out there. And it was so much fun to watch. Travis Kelce was cutting them up and just scoring me points. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't feel right. I know that we're supposed to have like better analysis than that. And like, as we do a sports podcast, but it doesn't feel right in Tampa right now. Something's not correct. It doesn't look like Tom Brady offense to me.
You're right. I mean, you even look at it's 100% correct. I mean, they have been banged up. They have, I think statistically, they have the most games missed out of any offense in the NFL. But you're 100% correct that it doesn't look right. You look at the game they won against the 49ers. Was it the Niners? Yeah. Where it was like 12-10 or something like that. Or those Packers against Packers. Where it was like 12-10 is like even that game. Actually, I think
did they lose that game?
I was just gonna say I think the Bucs lost that game. So you have that game factored in.
14-12.
And then this past game where even when Brady puts up 31 points, they still spot the Chiefs 2 fumbles, and the Chiefs get 14 points off those 2 fumbles. Mm-hmm. So it's like, even when the offense is clicking and does look like a Tom Brady offense at points, there's still times where it's like, what's going on? What's going on with Tom?
31 points that, like, I mean, so there was garbage time started early in that game.
100%. But like, I do want to talk about the personal stuff a little bit, because I do think that's got to factor in, man. I have to say that, because Tom Brady,
not only for him, but for his teammates, maybe, it's like they're reading about their quarterback in the tabloids. It's not great.
Yeah. And he doesn't, he doesn't convey someone that's taken his divorce well.
No, he looks fucking malnourished.
He looks. I don't know if he got like the cheekbone shaved down. Like, what the hell is going on
I feel
over
like
here?
she might just be holding this kale supply hostage or something. I don't fucking know.
But like,
maybe she's like, you know what? I told you not to go back, and now I'm keeping the baby blood away from you. You can't drink that, and you're gonna start to age, and everyone's gonna be able to see it. He looks like a melting vampire.
He does. He looks like he's the devil is coming for his.
I think she took whatever it is that he was using as a talisman in order to like that monkey's paw that he was making wishes on for the past fucking 20 years.
Just saying. But at the end of the day, it's still Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Like we
doubt him at your peril.
Right. We've sat here and doubted this man for the last 10 goddamn years. And not since the Falcons. I mean, I know that took too long still, but not since the Falcons come back have I ever said a fucking bad word about him. Was to me, it was like he can do anything. You know what I mean? Even their loss last year in the playoffs, bro. He did everything possible that Tom Brady could for them to win that game.
Well, this is also all this time. You know, he shouldn't even be here. He shouldn't even still be in the conversation for being elite. You know, he shouldn't have even gotten a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. It's all ridiculous.
I've thought about. I was thinking about this the other day. Is like I was a child when Tom Brady started playing. A goddamn child.
I know. I still live in Chicago. I was like still just getting into the Bears. It was like
unbelievable.
He had the same rookie season. I think he might have had the same rookie year as Brian Urlacher. He's like still fucking going. So I don't know, man.
Crazy.
It's fucking wild. So moving on from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are obviously, I don't know if the spell's wearing off or what the deal is, but we're going to move on to fucking Green Bay Packers. I mean, yeah, they do this every year, right? Like Rodgers comes in, he sort of flatters to deceive that they're gonna suck. Then he just like gets his elite running back committee going. He starts throwing dimes, and he looks like Aaron Rodgers again. I still have faith that he'll fuck up in the playoffs because he always does. But I really thought like this ayahuasca tour that he was doing in the offseason was gonna have just like really bad ramifications, and their first game wasn't great. But they're still pretty good, and they're probably going to win the NFC North. I hate to say it. He's very unlikable, and more unlikable by the year, so that's nice for me at least. But what do you think about this Green Bay Packers team? I really like their running backs. I've always liked the way that they actually style their running backs in Green Bay. I hate to admit, but I hate Aaron Rodgers, and they shouldn't be as good as they are. But he's elite. So what are you going to do? Talk to me about Green Bay.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about Green Bay, man, because you're right. They have I challenge Kellen Moore to please go watch film of the goddamn Green Bay Packers and how they dispense their running backs on a week-to-week basis. Please, just go watch it. Go watch it, please. Oh, it's amazing. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, man. You know what I mean? It's the same reason I'm gonna sit here and tell you why the Bucs are in this top 10 is because Aaron Rodgers is here. Listen, he made I know it was way closer than it should have been this past week with New England and Bailey Zappi. But listen, it's still Bill Belichick and it's still the New England Patriots. You know what I mean? Like,
totally. Also, it's a quarterback you didn't game plan for. Like, I feel like people don't really put that much. I'm like, actually, I'm listening to myself defend the Green Bay Packers. How are they not going to do better against a fucking quarterback who's never seen the fucking field? Fuck them, dude.
God damn it.
No, the limping foot. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just. Their defense has left a lot to be desired so far this year. They're getting gouged on the ground so far. And that was their biggest issue last year. So that's something that they have to get in check or else they're going to end up losing to a San Francisco 49ers or to a Dallas Cowboys, teams that have those running backs.
Round one of the playoffs.
Right, exactly. Like that's on deck for sure. But at this time, man, you can't sit here and doubt what Aaron Rodgers has done with maybe one of the top a bottom 10 wide receiver group in the NFL. You know what I mean? There's no talent in that wide receiver or no elite talent. There's talent, but no. They
also never give the fucking guy a defense. Like they really never give the guy a proper defense. Like I read some crazy stat, and I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but on the exact numbers. But I heard Tom Brady has like never had a not top 10 defense, and Aaron Rodgers has had one like one time, like statistically, and or like whatever the numbers were, but. You know, I'm not defending Aaron Rodgers, and like he doesn't fucking play.
It's one of those like memes, right? That was like,
exactly. I the little stat things that people do for clickbait, but it was an interesting stat, and I just feel like I think that does let him down, and especially in the postseason. It's a very tired adage: defense wins championships, and I'm not sure it does in the NFL anymore. I'm not sure it wins you championship games in the NFL anymore. I think that your quarterback has to do that for you nowadays. But I think it might get you to the show, or to word it better, you're not getting to the show unless you have one, a decent one. And I think if you were someone other than me, for instance, you could see that Aaron Rodgers maybe in his career was a little hard done by the minds they put in the coaching staff around him and the players they put around him and the players they put on his defense. You maybe would be able to make that case. Not to me, but to somebody else. He might be able to make that case. So they're a little bit of a weird team now.
Yeah, it is weird. And it really is just the Aaron Rodgers factor. And it's funny because of the team we have next on this list, that like the rationale behind my two teams that have been the past two teams are quarterbacks, when the next is Kirk Cousins. Good
segue, honestly, because obviously the next one's the Vikings. They're worse than I thought they were going to be this season, to be quite honest with you. I thought that they were going to be a lot better with the weapons that they have on offense. But as it was talked about and reminded to me, Kirk Cousins is still their quarterback. So what's going on in Minnesota, Bobby? Talk to me.
Yeah, it's so weird because like you look at this list, right? So Minnesota is literally number 5 on my list. And I had them below the Packers at first. I had the Packers 5, but then I kind of factored in that New England win as like kind of dropping them down one peg. And brought the Vikings up just because of the weapons and the dynamic ability of that offense. That's really why. Is like I just feel like the weapons outweigh the quarterback, discrepancy between Rodgers and Cousins. You know what I mean? Like if Aaron Rodgers was on the Vikings, they'd be probably like one of the top 2 teams in the NFL. But it's Kirk Cousins, so I don't know what to make of this. Well, I really don't. I mean, they took a last second field goal for them to beat Andy Dalton and the Saints. But at the same time, they absolutely, who did they smack a few weeks ago?
The Packers.
They absolutely waxed the Packers a few weeks ago. So it's like, it's definitely a hit and miss with this team. But right now, with the NFL that we've seen over the past 4 weeks and the weapons and just the way they pulled out these games, with the teams that are behind them, they have so many less question marks at the important positions on their team, so
except for quarterback.
Exactly. If it's 1 p.m. on a Sunday, they're good. If they're playing 8 p.m., they're fucked.
Yeah,
fucked. But
honestly, I think prime time games this week are the things that gave us the most insights into who's good and who isn't. And I think that, on paper, to me, they're winning the games that they should win, but not by enough. I mean, I know that's a tough criticism to sort of level at a team. It's like you can only play who's put in front of you. If you win the game, you win the game. A dub's a dub. That's what I'd be saying if it was the Bears. But I think that it's like it's proving true that the Saints are not a fucking hard team to beat, and you made it look difficult. It's proving true that the Detroit Lions are not a super hard team to beat, but they're fun to watch. I will say that. I still, I pray for their downfall unless they're playing anybody but the Vikings and the Packers. You made it look a lot harder to beat the Detroit Lions than you should have. You got waxed by the fucking Eagles, who actually look like an elite team. So what happens when you play a conceivably elite team? You get fucked up. You get decisively fucked up. So, I mean, if you're one of the better coaching minds in the league and you're going in to play the Vikings, you're not really trying to overthink it, are you? You're like, let's make Kirk Cousins beat us. Yeah. And if he does, c'est la vie. Good for him. Great. Happy for him. Proud of the kid, for God's sake. I'm going to send him a bouquet of roses, but he's probably not going to, right? If you eliminate the distribution at the source, and once there's more tape on this team and once there's more tape on the offensive weapons that they've got, you're not going to contain the JJs of the world. You're not going to contain these guys that are going to make plays on your secondary, but you can make it so that the ball doesn't get to them because their quarterback is a fucking 6. He's a 6 out of 10. He's a 5.8. He's a solid 5.8.
5.8 is pretty accurate. Like
5.8 with some more decimals after that, but we're rounding up for Kirk Cousins' benefit. I think that I'm not watching Kirk Cousins win a Super Bowl. I'm not doing it. If that very unlikely thing comes to pass, I'm gonna take my own life before it happens. Right at the end of the game,
Just
right as the fucking field goal goes through the uprights, I'm like, nope, done. So anyway, I don't think I'm gonna have to worry. But it's not. We're not watching Kirk Cousins win a Super Bowl. They need to do something. They need to do something at the quarterback position. We'll see how they look this season. And I get why they are where they're at on the power rankings. Truly, I do. But let's see when they play some real teams. I think they're going to lose to every really good team that they play. But again, I'm a little biased. And I'm actually being less hard on these fuckers than I usually am because I really do think that they have studs on their offensive side of the ball. But
Justin Jefferson is so goddamn good.
He's sick. He's
so good.
But if you can contain the quarterback, you can usually win the game. So there's been some weird quarterback stat lines this season with on winning games. I mean, the Bears are a good example, but it's it's fucking Kirk Cousins.
Can I give you a stat that I saw today that I thought
sure.
Bears, so it was. I want to get the exact one. I want to get the exact numbers for you. It was to do with Justin Fields.
Oh, great.
And yeah, sorry. And how Cooper Kupp has more catches than he has completions so far this season.
That's really funny. I think I'm watching the Bears. This is a quick aside. If anybody wants to hear it, I think it was a real old school game that we played against the Giants. It was a real heartbreaking way to lose, like a rookie muffing a fucking punt on your
that was rough.
Before you actually get to make a game winning drive. Not saying we would have scored and made the 2-point conversion just to take it into overtime. Like our chances are pretty slim at that point. I do like the team. I mean, they're young, they're athletic. There needs to be some improvement, I think, on in like mentality, but I think that'll come with age. I love the baby Bears, like I do. I'm excited about the future of the team. You got to give the kid the opportunity to make plays to win the game. You have to give him opportunities to make plays to win the game, whether he does or he doesn't. You can't be running the fucking. This is the same shit that fucking bald asshole Matt Nagy did last season and the season before. If it's 3rd and 4, man, you can't be handing it off to Khalil Herbert and hoping for a fucking first down. You have a young, dynamic quarterback. I understand you don't want to put too much pressure on him, but he's the fucking quarterback of the team. It's year 2. He's got to be put in a position to make plays to win games. And if you don't trust him, what are we doing? If you don't trust him, what are we doing here? So that's all I'll say about that. And my first issue with the new regime in Chicago was that I just feel like there was opportunities and distinct moments in the game where you should have put the ball in his hands for him to make plays. And you didn't. You just didn't. You're too fucking conservative.
Even on the one play they did. So it's Cooper Kupp receptions 42, Justin Fields completions 34 after 4 weeks. But even on the play that he did,
for the record, he fucking throws the ball at Cooper Kupp every single time. That's an absurd catch rate. That's an absurd fucking catch rate.
He's got 42 catches in fucking 4 games.
Fucking that's like the kid who presses circle every time when you're fucking playing Madden. It's like dude, you can press. There's other buttons. Like I know who you're throwing it to. It's fine.
But on that one bomb to Mooney, bro, that was a good ball. It's like when they let him sling it, he does put out. Granted, there's bad ones, but.
Yeah, but you got to live with both right now. That's what you're doing right now.
You have to.
What we're doing, what we should be doing right now is letting him get reps, letting him get fucking at-bats. That's what this season is. Like, we're not here to win.
He can hit 220. That's fine.
Yeah. Like, he's going to make some fucking plays. He's going to get on the ESPN top 10, but you got to put the ball in his hands and let him do that. You got to expand the playbook a little bit. You got to be more creative. Like, I get what they're doing, and I understand keep him healthy, take the pressure off him, get him in good positions, like whatever, short field. I get it. But man, like there's just some moments where I'm like, you got to trust the kid, man. You got to trust the kid. And if he like, what does that say to us as a fan base? Does that say like, I think that if Justin Fields has a really bad game, throws 3 picks, he's done, he's mentally fucking finished? I don't, that doesn't make sense to me because you got to find that out one way or the other. If he's not made of the right stuff, you find it out early. And then tank the season and fucking draft somebody.
It's a good segue, not a segue. I mean, it's a good way to relate it back to the Vikings because they play each other this week. So it's Bears Vikings this week, and the way to beat the Vikings is to pass on them. That's literally, dude. That's the number one way to beat them. And I think so.
We have beat up David Montgomery and I think Herbert's a good running back, but I think he's better in the committee. And I think that that's the way we have to do it. We have to make plays. I think Darnell Mooney's a good receiver. I think he's the number one target. I think Cameron Brate's a good receiver. I think he should get involved more. I think Herbert, and if Montgomery can play some snaps, should be getting short yardage passes. And I think you should just let Justin Fields get out there and worry them. Give them something to think about, because he can take off running at any time for a first down. Let him play his game. This is the stuff we talked about that Nagy wasn't doing. Just let him get hit, drop him back, and fucking shotgun every single time. Let him run a little RPO. Let him make some choices on the field. Let him call some plays. Let him get comfortable so that you can start to build yourself a fucking franchise quarterback. If you treat him like Mitch Trubisky, he's going to play like fucking Mitch Trubisky. If you treat him like what you think Justin Fields is going to be, he's going to play like what Justin Fields is going to be. So anyway, I'm obviously upset. It's fine. I'm always fucking upset. I'm always upset with this fucking team, but I just want to see him do cool shit. That's the only thing I'm going to get out of this season. If I get anything at all, is I'm going to see Justin Fields do cool shit. I'm going to see him make cool plays, fucking break tackles and like throw bombs or fucking, juke guys and make cool runs into the end zone, all that shit. I want that. I don't need to win a Super Bowl, but if I have a Michael Vick season from him, I'm about it.
I know. I think about you every time I see them running an RPO on 3rd and 8. Every time I see it, I'm like, okay. I feel so bad for you.
It's 3rd and 8. P, motherfucker. Yeah, no R, no O, P, bitch. Damn. It's not fucking rocket science. 3rd and 8. Why are we in 3rd and 8 in the first place? Why are we in 3rd and 8 in the fucking first place, by the way? Give him the fucking chance to win you a goddamn game of football. Give him a chance. Anyway, Pete. Anyway, yes, let's move on to the Dolphins.
Breathe.
I can't.
Deep breath.
I still like watching them. I mean, it's fun. It's a new era.
I've been there. I get it. No, I get it.
It's a new era.
At least your new era isn't Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
It's just that our coach is an unknown quantity. He did some shit that pissed me off last week, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But maybe he just knows more than I do. Dolphins. So the way to succeed in this league is to decide that your quarterback's brain injury is not that big of a deal. Man, they are taking some heat. That guy, what's his name? The coach in Miami.
McDaniel.
Yeah, McDaniel went from being the hero of the NFL. Oh man, he's weird. He's little. He's nerdy. He looks like a guy that you might hang out with on the block. He's kind of funny. The team seems to like him. We're all about him. And then it's like, you irresponsible monster. You're going to get Tua killed. Every doctor in America hates that fucking guy right now. And listen, I'm no doctor. But I mean, he shouldn't have been playing.
No goddamn way.
He got a fucking toe curler of a hit. He
shouldn't have come back that week. And then, bro, so that's two.
Where are these doctors in this hospital they're sending to Miami?
You can cut
Hollywood upstairs medical school. Oh man, I mean, all this concussion stuff in the NFL should have made him sit. They should have said to where's the protocol here, guys?
You can't.
You're just not doing yourself any fucking favors. I know nobody gives a shit, and everybody's gonna renew their fucking Sunday ticket thing next season. So Roger Goodell probably doesn't give a fuck. He's probably not even reading those emails. But damn, man, it's like a guy's life.
That was so scary too.
I know, man. The guy that
did the fingers and
well, you see that shit in the UFC.
Yeah, that's like the brain literally looking for life. You know what I mean? That's the brain clinging to any movement.
It's called the shadow realm, and I've seen lots of people get sent there, and you don't come back the same, bro. And it's just the thing is too is I was kind of getting excited about the Dolphins season. They're a fun offense to watch. I like when most of the teams in that division get beaten. I don't really feel anything about the Dolphins. So to see Waddle and Tua hook up and all these different little cool, and Tyreek Hill and all this stuff kind of come together. It was fun to watch down in Miami. And then this weird shit happens, and even if he does come back, is he going to be the same guy? Are they going to have to be more conservative? I know he's not the hugest loss in the world. It's not a huge step down from him to Bridgewater, but it is enough of one, I think, where you could see their season take a little bit.
I think it's a mental step down.
Right. Well, because everyone
what I mean? Yeah.
And was with him, you could really see that.
And they were rallying, they're rallying around this guy. You watch the videos of them all interacting and the interviews between him and Fitzpatrick that came out.
The propaganda was on point.
Right. Exactly. So I definitely think that has a factor to it. I completely agree that it's just kind of disappointing because I loved this Miami team, man. I was so high on them, and that's why they're still here. I think Tua's out. I think it's possible he's out for the season, man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I think it's really tough to bring him back at this point.
the guy that they based that
said he should retire.
He's like,
yeah,
retired.
yeah.
I just feel like I feel like if that was me. Listen, I don't make a living with
retire.
body.
I think
I don't make a living with my body, you know, like I make a living with my fucking ability to not sleep and being so stressed out that people are thinking I'm doing a good job that I'm like answering emails quickly. That's how I make my living. I feel like if I got a brain injury and somebody told me that if I kept production managing fucking television commercials,
you might die.
I might die. I would fucking retire tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, cool. I'll work at Target. I don't give a shit, you know. And I get it. It takes an incredible amount of hard work and sacrifice, and God-given talent and luck to get into the position that Tua was in. So I doubt he considers retiring. I would be very surprised, but it's a little scary to hear that, right?
Yeah, he can't. If you're the Dolphins, right? If you're in their position, so he can't come back for at least 10 weeks, right? He can't come back until December.
Well, what doctors
at the earliest, man?
What doctors are you listening to now? Because the doctors of the Dolphins obviously have lost all their fucking credibility one way or the other, right? So the doctors at whatever hospital he went to have obviously lost all their credibility one way or the other. So who's protecting this guy's fucking brain? You know,
this is so scary, man.
Yeah. But this isn't something we're talking about giving him an issue at 35. This is when he turns 50 and he gets early onset fucking Alzheimer's from these hits. And, you know, it's like the same shit. It happened in hockey with Sidney Crosby, right? It's like he's taking hits and he's getting all these concussions. And you're like, dude, I mean, I know you're a really good player, but like the work they do on these concussions and the research they do on these concussions, anytime you read about them, it's like, ooh, wouldn't want to get one of those. Never mind.
The double concussion too. That's what hurts, man. Is
it's the worst possible thing you could have done. Worst,
literally the worst thing you could do. And who was it? I forget what podcast I was listening to, but they brought up Eric Lindros.
We are the only podcast. There's no other podcasts.
Well, that's true. We are the only podcast. That's it. But they brought up Eric Lindros as an example of a guy whose career was dismantled by double concussions, and I think that's perfect because, like, listen, Eric Lindros was a top 10 player in the NHL when he was at his prime, and he got 2 concussions back to back in the same week, and he was never the same again. I might have retired, but like, it's just you can't bring this guy back out there. You can't do it.
You know, just in talking about this, like, we live in an age where I think if we weren't desensitized to everything pre like COVID and pre having like an event happen every single morning to wake up to, and pre like living through a near apocalypse and getting constantly fed like diabolical information and doom scrolling on your phone every day. If we weren't that then, we certainly are now. And I think that we're so fucking desensitized to stuff that actually matters, to the point where Junior Seau shoots himself dead, shoots himself in the chest. This is a guy, by the way, who, like, you know, if you're a little bit older than us, like, I know he wasn't like prolific as much when we were kids, but if you're a little bit older than us, you remember him as a fucking stud.
He's one of the best college Urlacher of that generation.
Right. He was one of the best college players anyone had ever seen. He's a fucking folk hero in Southern California because of the work he did here in college. He plays out of his fucking mind in New England. He plays out of his mind in all these different places. He's a completely elite defensive player, and he is so fucked up in his brain, right, that the money he made from his career and the success he had in his life aren't enough to keep the pain at bay. So he has to take his own fucking life, and he knows it's because of the fucking head injuries that he took. He knows that's why. And he shoots himself in the fucking chest just so they can look at his brain, find out how fucked up it is, and maybe help some people in the future. And nothing.
and Tua going out there 4 days after he collapses on the field.
Straight up, Junior Seau, gun to his fucking chest, going, all right, this is a big decision to die, but at least I'll help the Tuas of the world in a few years, right? No one gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck. They put that dude out there. He's an expendable fucking commodity for both the Miami Dolphins and the National Football League. Frankly, they should be fucking ashamed of themselves. I will still be tuning in this coming Sunday, obviously, because I'm addicted to the product. And this is the fucking issue. This is the issue.
Not to laugh.
I can't.
But it's true.
I mean, honestly, it's the fucking it's funny, but it's tragic at the same time. It's bittersweet. And no one's walking out. No one's getting up and walking out. These guys, you need some fucking government oversight or something at this point, because where's their players union? Where the fuck is the players union?
Yeah, I don't understand what happened with them. They said they were investigating it and stuff, and also,
dude,
I don't know, I haven't heard anything.
It's like the fact that you and me and the other fucking 4 assholes that sit on this fucking podcast can get into a Discord chat and be like, he definitely should not play. And there's like any reputable doctor in America is going, he definitely should not play. And then he plays, and of course the inevitable happens, and he's fucking tweaking out like he's just taking a fucking bad rip of black tar heroin, and like everyone's just like, oh, everyone in Miami's like, oh, well, I wonder what happened. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
He had a back injury. Back injury.
Yeah, you'd like to think that some things are bigger than football, but I think to some people, especially inside football, they certainly aren't. Anyway, moving on our football dedicated fucking podcast.
Yeah, anyways, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is still there, so. That's why they're still. That's why they're still on the power rankings.
Yeah, definitely. I get it. The Bills. What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know.
They're everybody's fucking sweethearts. Everybody's number 1 team coming in, the best team on paper easily in the offseason, I think. What the fuck?
They looked like
is it a weight of expectations thing? It's a weight of expectations thing, isn't it?
It might be. Because I mean, you think they literally were. The first 2 weeks, they looked like that team. They came out and dominated the Rams, and then they stomped the Titans in week 2. I don't know. I don't want to put too much into that game this past week because it was a weird weather game. You still have the remnants of Hurricane Ian dropping all the rain on the Northeast up here. But I don't know, man. I don't know. But listen, I want to trust this team because of all the hype and everything that we've said. But like, it just seems like when the moment gets big, or when Josh Allen has some kind of adversity when it comes to weather, or when it comes to something just not going right, things go off the rails in Buffalo. Yeah, granted, they still came back and won that game. And if there is ever a master class of how to grind a clock at the end of a game to not give the ball back to the other team, that was it on Sunday, because they got the ball back with like 3 minutes left.
I just don't know if a team that elite should be doing that or should be having to do that. You know what I mean? Like these are games that they should be in the league, on paper. I mean, I'm glad I haven't put any fucking money on them this season because, like, I doubt there's been some teams beat the spread against them for sure. So I just, like, I don't know, man. I know it's tough when they win the game to level of criticism at, like, oh, you should have won by more. The win's a win. But like we talked about with the Ravens, that was kind of the Ravens' fucking fault. To be totally honest with you. So
yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, I'd be worried if I was Bills Mafia right now. I'd be a little concerned. I mean, the way they got sent home in Miami was like, oh my God.
I just don't know what that no team in the history of the NFL has ever ran that many plays and lost a game. Never happened.
Crazy. But like they got fucking sent home too. Like the attitude about it was like, have a nice fucking flight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was like it's a divisional game. It's a tough fucking L. It's gonna be tough to come back from that mentally. That is a crazy stat.
Yeah. They don't have any. I feel like the running backs, it always gets pushed to the side, man. And listen, I know we had this conversation about Singletary this week, but like, he just seems so underwhelming at times. And it's like,
I don't think they give him the ball enough.
Yeah, they don't rely on it enough. They let Josh Allen be the running back, and I get it because he's awesome, man. Don't get me wrong, Josh Allen might be a top 10 running back in the NFL at the quarterback position. That's a very good possibility. But I just don't know what happens to them, man, because they look so good. And then the offense just sputters. Like even last year, right? Last year, they were the same darlings. Everyone loved the offense, but then they have a game against Jacksonville where they lose 9-6. And it's like, what the hell just happened?
What are teams seeing on the tape that is enabling them to get to them? Mentally, I don't know, like game plan wise, I don't know. It's a weird thing. But I don't know. I don't have the same level of faith I had 4 weeks ago. I really don't. And I think that, I would be unsurprised if they come back and decide to be the Buffalo Bills that we thought they were. But not that surprised if they don't, you know. You can't play like they've been playing against the Kansas City Chiefs or even the Philadelphia Eagles or you know, there's other teams that like they should be beating that I'm worried that they're coming up against that they're going to be able to get at them. So not worried because I don't really give a shit, but it's about the fucking Buffalo Bills, to be honest with you, if they do good or not. But I'd be worried if I did care. So I mean, sometimes the weight of expectation, the weight of the shirt is a lot. When everyone tells you you should be winning a Super Bowl, and a little bit goes wrong, and then you're like, oh fuck, we're supposed to win a Super Bowl. This is embarrassing. Yeah, the underdog is getting us, and we're never the underdog anymore, and we can't rally around that attitude. Maybe things can go wrong. So watch this space, I guess, is the kind of the message with the Bills. Let's keep an eye on them until we know more. I'd love to finish this off with a package.
Just go 1-2. Yeah, no, I feel that.
Because I just want to make the case, because we talked about it a little bit on the Discord, but I knew we were going to come here and talk about it. So you have the Eagles at number 1 and the Chiefs at number 2. Yep. And my argument that it should be reversed in a nutshell, as you already know, but for the sake of the listeners, is level of competition. The level of competition, the things that the Chiefs have done. I understand they had one weird week, I understand the Eagles have not lost a game yet. But the teams that they're playing, I don't think really test them to the level of Patrick Mahomes and that very, very good Kansas City Chiefs team coming out and styling on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers and a stingy Buccaneers defense in prime time. I think that to me, when I watched that game, I watched every morsel of football I could consume all the way from Thursday to Monday in this game week. That to me was the team where I was like, that's the best team. Like, I just watching them, I was like, that's the best team. Like, they're so fucking good. They have so many weapons still. I know it's boring. I know it's the LeBron MVP thing. LeBron should have won MVP every single year, but it was fucking boring to give LeBron MVP every single year. So, yeah, give it to Steve Nash. Give it to fucking Russell Westbrook because he got like 1 billion triple doubles, even though they were like feeding him fucking triple doubles. I get it. I understand it because it's like you're trying to fucking sell a product here. But if the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles played tonight, I know where my money's going. And I know that you have faith in the Eagles, and I give you credit because I give you shit. I was like, I thought Jalen Hurts was still their QB. I thought, you know what I mean? Like, definitely was wrong about how good the Eagles actually are, but I still don't know if they're better than the Chiefs. Talk me into it.
So my biggest thing is the Eagles aren't even healthy yet. So you look at this defense, and the Eagles right now, they were missing Darius Slay last week, who might be a top 5 corner. They just don't have their full team yet. And I just look at this Eagles team, man, and they haven't had that hiccup yet. So I know we're like, yeah, the Chiefs had one bad week, but they did everything in their power to give the Colts that game. And just based off of what I've seen over 4 weeks, is like we talk about level of competition. I don't think the two best wins by the Eagles so far this year are the shellacking of the Vikings on primetime.
Sure.
Right. And last week's win against the Jaguars, which I actually think is more impressive.
Jaguars I would have been another one of my honorable mentions, to be honest with you.
Right. So and another honorable mention is so if I thought about this earlier because I was like, how the fuck am I going to convince DK that the Eagles are better than the Chiefs? I literally was sitting there like, how are we going to do this? If it was the Chargers, right? If the Eagles had played the Chargers this past week and won 29-14, right? In the fashion that
they
did.
This fucking list. That's crazy.
I
just
know.
Noticed that.
Well, listen. If it was right and they won 29-14, wouldn't you be like, well, that's a really good win? They beat the Chargers. They played the Chargers, right?
Yes. I also think the Chargers should be on this list. I'm just realizing
the Jaguars beat the Chargers 38-7. 2 weeks ago.
Okay, well, okay. I mean, mitigating circumstances. Herbert basically shouldn't have been playing. Like,
well, yeah, that's true. But that doesn't prove my point at all. So, I just sounded like Mike, didn't I? Oh God. No, I just listen. I completely understand where you're coming from. I literally had that moment where I was sitting there like, God damn it, do I have to put the fucking Chiefs number 1? And I was like, I just don't think they've done enough to me to overcome the Eagles so far, because the Eagles were already at 1 and the Eagles didn't do enough to drop it down to 2 and the Chiefs didn't do enough to jump them. That's literally what it came down to.
That's the thing. You see, it's not a knock on the Eagles, what I'm saying, but when you watch I know you watched that game. Like,
yeah, they looked real good in that game.
is like shimmying and shaking and shovel passing it in the end
Throwing it
zone.
behind his fucking head.
Yeah, and just like hitting Travis Kelce at will. Like there's nothing they can do. There's nothing any team can do to stop that tight end. And we've seen what that looks like when you have a tight end that's that good. You put the man on, and it might have been a little bit of a manipulative tactic on my part to start the show with you just saying that he was one of the best 4 tight ends of all time. Or you put him on your fucking Mount Rushmore, And it's like, I defy you to name one Eagle.
You bastard.
That would be
you put words in my mouth.
I would defy you to name one Eagle that you would name top 4 all time at their position, all time. That's crazy, not one. And I just think, and Patrick Mahomes might go down as top 5 all time quarterbacks. And they looks like they haven't missed a beat without Tyreek Hill, who we can see is clearly fucking sick. Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is like a fucking beast. They've got this guy Pacheco, the backup running back, who's like, I know he's probably not putting up great fantasy numbers, but like the runs he makes, he's just pumping those legs. They've got such an eye for talent. They've got a proven head coach. They've got Pat fucking Mahomes, man. I don't see Jalen Hurts selling me any fucking State Farm insurance yet. You know what I mean? It's the way I see it. I know they got studs all over the field. And honestly, I give you credit. I really do. I think you were way more right about the Eagles than I was. I looked at it from a quarterback only standpoint. I thought Sirianni was a completely unproven head coach. I think coming from being the offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts doesn't fucking sell me on much, to be honest with you. But he looks all right. He looks.
At least it wasn't their defensive coordinator.
Fuck you, Bobby. All right. On that note, I think we could end it there. No, I mean, I think it's a good point, and I'm excited. We're still weirdly, we really haven't seen the cards land, and we haven't seen this season shake out yet. And I really thought we would by this point, but we haven't. So
I think a lot of it. So my bad.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last point. I feel like a lot of it is. It seems like there's been a lot of good teams versus good teams so far.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's been a lot of Ravens, Bills. There's been a lot of,
loaded for sure.
Right. Bucs, Chiefs,
not a lot of teams have been able to get into that rhythm where they rattle off 6 wins. Yeah.
And I looked at the schedules, right? And you have teams like I was saying, the Eagles' next 5 games are cake. The Chiefs' next 5 games are cake. Like you just go down the line. And I think over the next 4 weeks, we are going to see that separation of like the really good teams are going to start getting on that roll because they're not. I mean, you look at.
We're starting to see who they're going to be. We're starting to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I still can't believe I didn't say anything about the Chargers not being on this fucking list. It's wild. What's wrong with the Chargers?
That the loss to Jacksonville, and then last week they almost. I mean, bro, they almost let the Texans back in that game, and it was between the Chargers and the Cowboys for that number.
I still think they're the best. I still think they're the best young team. I think they're the best young team. It might not be their year this year, but I would watch this space on the Chargers.
I think they need a new coach. They
don't look wide receiver one's been hurt for most of this season.
Yeah, Keenan Allen has been out. I kind of forgot.
I mean, we'll see. I don't mind that he throws to Mike Williams every single time because I have him on my fantasy team, but like he needs to be able to spread the ball out a little bit more. I had him as my MVP candidate this season. It looks like it's gonna be fucking Jalen Hurts though, so who knew? Again, Cooper Kupp. I don't know who you got at this point for MVP.
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a doubt about it. I think it's Jalen. You watch what he did to that team. Listen, that team rides on him. Jalen Hurts is
super dynamic. He's really fun to watch. He's really, really fun to watch. I said that to you when we were talking about it in the Discord today. He's super fucking fun to watch.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're good.
Cool. On that note, I guess the theme from this show is watch this space. And we'll revisit some of these themes over the next few weeks. But for the real BK Bob Kelly and myself, thank you for listening to Missing the Point.